who are going to help you sell more and scale your digital marketing agency. I'm really excited for today. We have an amazing person with us, Sean Dennin, who's going to help us all learn how to close more deals. Sean, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm taking notes too. This is an area where I feel like, you can fill your pipeline, but it's really about the connection that you make on those sales calls and in your pitch. All of that's just so important. And I think we can all definitely use some pointers. So maybe, Sean, you could let everybody know a little bit more about your background.
Yeah,
And we'll go from there.
absolutely. So hey, everybody, thank you so much for attending. We're really excited to put this on, as Brittany mentioned. So my background, I've been in technology pretty much my whole life, the technology space. I started out, I used to travel around the country and I would set up war rooms, also known as work rooms for attorneys. So like if Apple would sue Samsung, I would have to go, to a hotel, stay there for a month, live with all the lawyers, do all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So did that in the beginning part of my career. I set up work rooms in 42 states. So that was fun, traveled a lot. And then, started to change life a little bit. Became a dad and things like that. So that business that I was part of just took off, and it was a small group. There was just a couple people, and we turned that into like a $15 million company. I was fortunate to kind of just rise up the ranks within that company. And then a little bit later in my career, about 8 years ago, I was recruited to be the CEO of another legal technology company. And I came into that company, had some great partners there. The reason that I took that leap was that was actually my first leap into actual entrepreneurship. I still remember the conversation with them where they're like, we can't afford your salary, but we'll give you equity, right? And I was like, that's what I wanted anyway. So we were able to do that. Had an amazing ride there. We had purchased a marketing company while I was there because we wanted to diversify our services. So we always had a ton of different, project services. And these gray hairs literally are from those 7 years of trying to manage that pipeline because, we would have a $500,000 pipeline and then a couple cases would settle and things would just go away. And you're like, oh my God, how are we making payroll, right? So I quickly learned that the recurring revenue model was a little bit better business model. They both have their merits, don't get me wrong. But so what we did is we bought a marketing company so we could balance out those spikes in the revenue. So we bought a legal marketing company. I've always been passionate about marketing for any of the businesses that I was involved in. I always had, did the marketing for the companies and everything like that. So it was a natural progression into that. And then really just fell in love with the whole agency space, got involved with the 7-figure agency. We were able to grow Acumen with our wonderful partner, 51 Blocks. And I'm not here to sell 51 Blocks, but I will tell everybody, I'm on my second agency right now, and I just sell. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not an SEO expert. I'm not somebody that's super technical, knows all the details and stuff like that. I leave that to the experts. They do a great job crushing it. So there's a lot of power in that. So make sure that we're doing that. So anyway, we ended up selling most of the assets out of that company last year. We were very fortunate. And so then that kind of pushed me to go into my own space. So now I have a vet marketing firm with a partner, which has been really, really fun. I love lawyers, love y'all, but veterinarians, it's just a different pace, right?
Yeah, they really are.
So really enjoying that, and then truly, I found my passion and my niche in coaching. I absolutely love coaching. They always say if you find something that you could just do for 8 hours a day and don't feel like you're working, and that's kind of how I feel about the coaching space. So been doing a lot of coaching, and then lastly, I went in the partnership with my 3 sons, ages 16, 15, and 9, and we are opening up a healthy acai bowl and smoothie store here in our community.
So cool.
Yeah, just a couple fun things going on, but I've always been passionate about sales, and I love sales. So I feel I've been told by my grandfather that I have the gift of gab. So so try to figure out ways to apply that.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I think, Sean mentioned he's been here with us before, and he actually is a sales coach at our agency as well, because your talent is it's so obvious that this is a passion of yours, but also what you're great at. And I think that, the coolest part about your story is that you've really gone into ventures that you feel good about. Like, I think that's why it resonates with the people you talk to. Very similar to like the way I conduct my own sales calls, right? Like, people can tell I'm excited about this product, just like people can tell you're excited about helping vets, helping lawyers. I'm sure at one point in time, I know your smoothie, your bowl venture with your boys. That's super fun, as I watch it kind of grow. And that's definitely a cool thing to see evolve. So we're
Yeah,
excited.
I had
I'm
a
pumped.
9-year-old on a Zoom call with the whole corporate team
I
yesterday.
saw that. No,
And
I saw it. That's so
it was too
cute.
funny because his brother was on the call too, who's
Yeah.
15. And the 9-year-old's like taking like deep, because like, I do a lot of mindset stuff, right? So I try to apply the same mindset stuff with my kids. So I see him doing his 3 deep breaths, and he sees dad do that a lot, right? So he's taking his 3 deep breaths, and my older son looks at me. He's like, "Why are you so nervous?" He's like, "Dude, give me a break. I'm 9. This is a real business meeting."
I know. Oh my gosh. How cool though. Those boys have such a great role model. And I mean, you're taking them from like grassroots, right? Like, they're learning how to develop
100%.
all of
Like
this.
my son like was like part of the contract signing for the sign. My other son manages inventory. Like they have like real roles and responsibilities in the business. So
Oh, I love it. That's so fun. All right. Well, let's dive
all right,
into
let's dive into it.
what was that?
I said, yeah, let's dive into it.
Heck yeah. Okay. So I know you're going to share the screen with everyone who can follow along. So I
Yep.
will go
Let
ahead.
me, let me throw up the slides here. All right. So Brittany, are you able to see that?
I am just waiting for it to
Oh,
show
okay.
on my end. Not yet.
No worries. And my slides are super simple. Anyone that's ever worked with me before know that I hate PowerPoint slides actually.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
uh,
funny.
worst case scenario, we could just roll through the content too.
Cool. Yeah, I would say just start rolling. I don't see it popping up on my end yet, but we can always pop it in the
Yeah, and
chat.
I have like I have everything broken up on like a key takeaways guide, and like honestly, like I always tell people that too. I'm like, listen, I'll talk everyone through everything. I'm gonna give you all the key bullet points, so don't worry about like, oh my god, I gotta write everything down as we're talking and stuff like that. Like I always summarize everything for you. I'll do your cliff notes for you, so you don't have to worry.
Amazing. All right.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, we're gonna address a couple things today. So the first thing I want to talk about is just like the sales journey and the process, right? And where we are today, how people are, how people react to things. I know back in the day, like when I was in my 20s and I did sales training, I remember they're like, "Hey, you need to make at least 3 to 5 contacts with a prospect before you get their attention," and things like that. And over the years, I've seen the experts, well, now it's 5 to 7 contacts, and then it was 7 to 9 contacts. And the truth is they say it's anywhere between 12 to 15 contacts now to grab someone's attention.
Wow.
And why is that, right? So the reason that is because of how distracted we are as a society. We are becoming people who have a less attention span than a goldfish, right? Like it is true. It's 100%. So I always tell people, I'm like, when we're moving into the sales process and we're moving into the sales journey, you have to remember the first thing that's the most important thing is what's the benefit to the person that you're talking to, and how can you focus on the benefit to the person that you're talking to, right? Because I think a lot of times, and you'll see this, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we talk about social media outreach in the different areas. A lot of times we just jump right into it, right? Because we're excited. We have something to sell. We know our products. We know our solutions. We know the results we're getting for other people, right? We're super excited about this. But we have to remember that the first time we talk to a prospect, they're not at the same level as us, right? They're just not there, and maybe they reached out to us, maybe they need help, and they're all going to come in at different parts of the buying cycle. So the first thing I want to tell everybody is, you really want to focus on just having patience in your sales process, right? It's not going to be, you are selling a subscription service, something that someone needs to invest into. They don't understand it, right? They don't really. So there's all these variables. So I think that's the number one thing. Like with all my coaching clients, that's the number one thing I see, because they're like, "Hey man, I got this presentation Tuesday. It's going to be awesome. I'm ready to go. We talked a little bit. The person's excited, da, da, da." And then they jump on the call and they're like, "Well, they didn't close." And I'm like, did you expect them to close? Like that was the first time that you guys talked, right? You're selling
Yeah.
them a $5,000 a month contract for 12 months. They just saw your face for the first time. Like like
You have to
I would
date.
have hired, if they closed, I would have hired you for my company, right? So I just always like to share that with you. Just be patient in the sales process and know that it's like a warm up and it takes time.
Right.
So that's a perfect segue to jump right into the social media cold outreach formula. So if I have my slides up, you would see that I have like a little funny meme slide that just says, "Don't make it weird." Okay. And what I mean by that is, if we had a live thing, I'd ask for a show of hands. But show of hands, if you received a message where you like accepted a friend request and then within seconds you get this like throw up of information that's like, "Hey, I'm Sean and I'm a digital marketer in the vet marketing space and I
Yep.
help doctors, blah, 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 blah." And it's just like,
Call me
whoa,
your one. Yeah, I get them all
whoa.
the time.
Right? So I always tell people this. I'm like, listen, think about, okay, so social media networks are meant for people to be social online, right? So is that social? Like if you were in a cocktail party and you and I met for the first time, Brittany, and I walked up to you and I was like, "Hey, Brittany, my name's Sean Dennin, and I'm the CEO of the vet marketing firm." And I just started talking. You'd be like, "Wow, dude, like
Yeah.
there's the exit here, like a little
Yeah.
weird," right? So I tell people, just do not make it weird in the social media outreach. So I have a money line that I'm going to share with everybody.
Okay.
It works for me like a charm. Okay. So we will now, when I say we, I do have, a VA that helps with my social media outreach and everything. So we will send the initial contact, just initial friend request, no message with it or anything like that. And my money line is as soon as we connect, it doesn't like do the auto message. Like I wait for a little bit, let it connect. But the money line is I say, "It's nice to connect with you. If we met in person, I would definitely say hello. So this is me saying hello."
Aw. It's
Simple.
genuine. It feels good, actually. Yeah,
Just
way
like that,
better.
right? If I met you in person, Brittany, I would definitely have said hello first. I would have shook your hand.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we would have had that little pleasantry, and then we would have had a conversation about something, right?
Okay.
So that's my first line. I do that, right? So then two things. Number one, you have to remember that your social media outreach should be a combination of both outreach and inbound, right? And what I mean by that is we talk to people all the time about creating content and putting content into your feeds and things like that. The algorithms of social media, as soon as you connect with somebody, your content gets prioritized in their algorithm, okay? Because you're a new connection. You ever notice that? You connect with
Yeah.
somebody, you're like, "Oh, I see this person's baby like every time in my
Yeah.
feed," right? So the algorithm is set to have them consume your content, right? So number one, you have to be putting up content. You have to be creating content. You have to be sharing content, to really have an effective, because what are we trying to do by sharing content and putting stuff out there is we're creating authority. And
Right.
that's the key thing is we want to create authority. So first thing to do is make sure that you're flooding your feed with content, with good quality content that just people just see, right? And they're not going to like jump in and dive. Maybe they do. Maybe they, a message resonates or something like that, but they'll consume it and they'll at least kind of have an idea of who you are, what you're about, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I usually wait about a good week. Usually I'll get a message back, "Hey, hi back, hey." And then my next thing is, "Hey, make it a great week," right? You see my sign off, Sydney, Brittany, most of my
Yeah.
emails, I sign off with that, right? So I just say, "Make it a great week." Then I don't message anything. I let them just consume content a little bit. I let the algorithm do its thing. Hopefully you see a like here and there on a post, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the next thing I'll do is I do the, "Oh, hey, by the way," right? And what I mean by, "Oh, hey, by the way," is I'll send a message out that says, "Oh, hey, by the way, Brittany, I see that you are in the white label SEO space. It's funny, actually, about 3 weeks ago, I just conducted a webinar on how CEOs in the white label space could take their agency to the next level by implementing these sales tips. Would you be interested in seeing that webinar?" Right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just a
Now you've
very
enticed them.
soft thing of value. It's just like, "Oh, wow, like you happen to be this person and I happen to have this content," right? So you marry
Right.
that up and share that, right? So then the next thing that I do is now that gives me a point of follow up. So I can follow up and say, "Hey, by the way, did you get a chance to watch that?" Don't be a pest about it. Remember, it's not this person's job to watch your webinar. They're going to watch it if they're interested in things. But this is where you're going to start to see if you have a somewhat of an interested prospect or if it's just somebody that was like, "Hey, I'm going to be nice to you because you were nice back," right? So if they kind of blow you off, they don't say anything about that, I'll let that go for about another week. And then I will hit them with the first offer. Okay. And what I mean by offer is I don't hit them with an offer of like, hey, let me tell you about my programs. Let me sell my stuff. Let me do this. I hit them with the next thing, which is I use this cool tool called Local Falcon, right? Which gives you those rank map reports, which
Mhm.
everybody loves because it's visual.
Yeah.
So then I hit them with, hey, by the way, I have this cool AI tool that will actually like show exactly where you show up on the map when somebody does that. I can have my team run that report for you if you're interested to know like where you're showing up on the
Cool.
map for veterinarian near me. Would you like me to send that over? Right?
Right.
Get a yes or no. And again, by this time, you're going to start to see if they're just totally ignoring you or whatever, let them consume content, let them be an inbound, right? Like
Got
you
it.
don't have to spend time, like just keep bothering them. But if you're getting the, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Brittany. Send that over. And oh, wow, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that, right? Now you're building up towards, hey, I have this report for you. There's some details in here that are a little bit technical. Let's jump on a 15-minute call. Let me explain some of this stuff and let me get it there, right? So
Cool.
that's basically my social media outreach formula. Okay. So
I
my
like it.
whole goal with everything I'm doing is to get them to talk to me for 15 minutes. Right. But I don't assume that I should have 15 minutes. Why should I assume that I should get 15 minutes of your time, Brittany? Right. Like
Yeah.
I'm just a
Right
cold
away.
person outreaching. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to build some value. I'm going to show you that I am an expert. I'm going to let you learn on your own that I'm an expert in what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to make an offer, but the offer is simply a value. Right.
Got it.
Once we get to the point of let me explain the report to you, let me explain, that's when I start to introduce, hey, by the way, as you can tell, I'm in the vet marketing space and blah, blah, blah. And I'd love to do a deep dive assessment. Right. And then I take them into a sales process.
Got it. So how much of your social posting would you say is personal versus business? Because this is where I've always been curious to know. I mean, we connect with our audience sometimes through avenues that aren't in our business, right? I've done that with some of our partners where we connect as parents, we connect on other levels. When you're doing your social media yourself, because I assume that's what you're leveraging, how
Yep.
much of it is personal versus how much is business?
So for me, so truth be told, so my primary social channels, the Facebook ones, the ones that I actually really run. I do have other social channels that I don't really run, right? But the ones that like if you message me, I'm messaging you back is
Mhm.
my Facebook and my Instagram. So for those, I would say the content split is about 70% personal, 30% professional. But I'm also in the coaching space, right? So in my coaching, we talk about whole lifestyle. We talk about health and fitness. We talk about mind body connection. So like when I post a gym post or if I post this or if I post that, it all ties together, right? So
Yeah,
it's a mix, right? So, but I would say a good mix for the average person would be about a 50-50 split because people like the personal side, right? And people like
you
that.
do.
The one thing I'm going to tell people though, like I'm a big believer in this. Please, follow your own path, do whatever you want to do. But if you are going to use your social media for business, try to keep it as neutral as possible, right?
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to go on social media and get into a rant or a discussion about my political beliefs or religious beliefs or something like that and just, piss off 50% of my audience, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to have a conversation about that, let's have a beer. We can go talk somewhere, right? But you're never going to see that on social media
Yeah.
from me.
My rule
I
of
highly
thumb is
recommend other people don't do that.
Yeah, my rule of thumb is unless my grandma can see it, like I wouldn't post it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of that, right? Like unless
Absolutely.
you are gonna know that you're gonna hop on a sales call with someone and you don't want them seeing something in your personal life, probably good not to post
Yep.
those things.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Totally agree.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very
So,
cool. I love
all
that.
right. So that's the social media outreach formula. Like I said, try that money line, make it your own. That's just how I talk, right? So
Okay.
make a variation. That's the other thing I always tell people. You're going to hear me say certain things, script certain things, whatever. My biggest sales coach in my career has been my mirror in my bathroom.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
So you practice.
Reason being is that the mirror doesn't lie. And if you can't believe yourself in the mirror, your prospect will not believe you.
Mm,
So what I do with my coaching clients is when I tell them to like you have no idea how many people will come in and like literally don't have a 30 to 45-second elevator pitch. Like just tell me in a few sentences like what your company does, like what you're about and things like
yeah.
that. So people will start them and then like they'll do it. I'm like, all right, now what I want you to do is I want you to say that 150 times into the mirror. Look yourself in the eyes. I don't know if anyone's ever done mirror work. it's challenging, right?
Yeah.
Like you like look yourself dead in the eye and try to talk to yourself in a mirror. It's
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah,
But
some people, like, with eye contact in general, that's hard. That
it's
is
hard.
hard.
It's hard, but it's a training, right?
Right.
Anything that's out there. And remember, a lot of people and people are like, oh, Sean, like you do it this way. And guys, I'm a 20-year sales veteran. I've done sales in every business that I've ever been in. I was the head of sales. It's what I do, right?
Yeah.
Throw me in a room and have a deep dive discussion about like H1 tags and this and the other thing. I'm the dumbest guy in the room, right? Like, so like, don't be like, oh wow, like he delivers it better. Brittany, I know we both know a friend of ours, Josh Nelson, in
Yeah.
the 7-figure agency, right? And I love Josh, so I get to pick on Josh. We have a good relationship. But I always tell people, and he is the master of content. His content is beautiful, like
Curated. Yes.
filmed, everything, and his delivery and everything. But what I joke with people is I'm like, if you want to have some fun, go back about 5 years and find Josh's original content, the first
Oh,
time he ever posted some videos and did some stuff. And I want you to compare and contrast that Josh to the 5 year later Josh, right?
yeah.
And why is it so much better? Because he's trained it for 5 years. He's done it consistently for 5 years. He's done right. So he got
Right.
significantly better at it. So anything you focus on, anything you train, anything you practice, and before you practice, before you get on, role playing sessions and things like that, you can do all of this in a mirror. And I highly recommend you try the mirror.
Yeah, that's smart because there's a lot of people I talk to agency owners every day, and it's the nerves that get them more than anything. And it's like anything else you get good at, right? And I agree with you that practicing in the mirror is definitely one way. And otherwise, just tell yourself what's the worst that's going to happen, right? Like you're just going to get better every single call. So yeah, that's funny. Now I have to go dig Josh's old content up.
You do. It's fun. It's fun. I do all the time. And like, I mean, he did great, right? And it's like, but I want everyone to look at like, I was just at the intensive and, just incredible, right? You were at the old intensives, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's like we had like boxed lunches, and now it's just I asked Josh, I'm like, when's Tony Robbins get here? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is amazing. So
Yeah.
huge credit to him, guys, crushing it. But my point is that he didn't start out that way, right?
Right.
He did not start out that way. So. All right, so I want to keep rolling through here. I got a lot of content to get through, and I have bonus content at the end, which I want everyone to hang around for. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to talk about the gatekeeper and how we can take a gatekeeper and turn them into an internal champion. Okay, so traditional sales coaching has always told us we have to get past the gatekeeper. Right? That's like the number one thing is how do you get past the gatekeeper? There's courses, all kinds of content, things like that about getting past the gatekeeper. I have training, which is the exact opposite. I have training on how do you target the gatekeeper? How do you make the gatekeeper part of the sales process? How do you convert from, having a gatekeeper to then somebody that's helping you with a we sale? And I'll tell you what I mean about the we sale in just a second here. So in many organizations, many places that you're going to reach out to and stuff like that, there's always going to be a gatekeeper. If you're in the vet space, you're going to talk to an office admin. If you're in the lawyer space, you're going to talk to a firm admin. If you're even in, contracting and things like that, right? Like in a lot of cases, there's going to be somebody else whose job it is to answer the phone and things like that. So we try to just blow past the gatekeeper. I mean, there's tricks, you try to like use the person's first name. Oh yeah, they called my cell, you lie, blah, 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 which don't ever do, by the way. It's so cheesy. Like once you get found out, you get found out.
Yeah.
Like you can be a ClickFunnels geek all you want, but like once you're found out about it, I'm sorry, like do real business. But anyway, I'll keep off of that rant. It just takes away from like us, right? And that's the thing that like,
Yeah, it's the authenticity,
it's
right?
Like, it's authenticity. It's like be authentic, So anyway, so what I do is, I'll reach out and talk to somebody and I'll say, hey, so the first thing I do is similar to like my hello thing is I'm like, hey, may I ask who I'm speaking with? How many gatekeepers get asked what their name is?
Yeah.
Hardly ever, right? Yeah. So, this is Brittany. Hi, Brittany. This is Sean.
Yeah. I'm usually just who they are. Yeah, yeah.
Instant thing, right? It just comes down a little bit. Oh, right. Hi, Sean. How can I help you? Right? Is usually what you'll get. You just teed up the rest of my sales conversation for me, right? Like, oh, you want to help me? Perfect, because I was actually looking for it. So the next thing I'll say is, listen, I'm sure you get a lot of calls like this, so I'm not going to take a lot of your time today, Brittany, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm reaching out. I am a marketing agency. I have no illusions of getting Dr. Smith on the phone right now today, right? But we are doing this thing where we're doing this like cool assessment. We have this like really cool tool where I'm like, do you know the Google Maps? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, you know how like when you Google like, I don't know, like what's your favorite food? Thai food? Okay, Thai food near me, and it pops up in the maps, right? You got to connect it with the person. You got to connect it to what you're talking to. If I just come in and I'm like, hey, your GMB profile and you're this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. They're like, what? What are you talking about? So I always give them real world examples. Like when you Google Thai food on your way
Yeah.
home, Thai food near me, it pops up in this, right? And you see this. So anyway, so I always make sure that, you know, they're connected to it. And then I just give them, I say, listen, what I'd love to do is I have this cool software. I can run the report. It's going to show all the dots. Dr. Smith is going to love this, right? Because trust me, every person that I send it to absolutely loves it. And what Dr. Smith is going to love even more is that it lists your top 20 competitors in your space, and it shows where they're ranked too. Oh, wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So do you think I'd be able to send that report over? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so Brittany, do me a favor. What's your email address? Okay, so I get your email address. And by the way, Brittany, so how long have you been with the practice? Oh,
Yeah.
5 years, 7 years, 10 years, right? Boom, that's my person I need to sell to. The 5 year, 7 year, 10 year person who's the practice manager, who's the office manager.
Right.
They're like the head of the show, right? Like nothing's happening without going through this person, right?
Right.
So anyway, so talk to them a little bit, build it up. And then I have another, so I don't have a money line, but I have a money trick here. And a lot of people in the agency space have used this and it works for them too. So what I do is I ask them, hey, so let me ask you a question. If I send this to Dr. Smith's email, we know it's either going to hit spam or, you know, he's just going to, you know, fall on the wayside. So I'd love to send it to you. Maybe you could confirm that you received it, you know, and things like that. Oh, of course, right? Because we're friendly now, right? We're just talking as friends. So, oh, of course, I can do that. I'd appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. And again, I'm not going to bother you. Like, if you have any questions about it, just hit me up. But I just like to get it into your hands.
Yeah. That's so cool, Sean. That's so different from what I usually get. It's like an instant, here's who I am and here's what I'm doing and are you interested? It's like, who?
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
interested. Like, you just randomly called me today. And I believe in cold calling, by the way. Cold calling is not dead. For the people that are like, oh, cold calling's dead. Y'all just are afraid to do cold calls. Okay. So
You got to do it the right way, it sounds like. I mean,
you have to do
you
it the
break
right
down
way.
their barriers
You
and
have to
then
approach it. You have to
yeah.
break down those fears. And again, be human with somebody. Connect to the person. Talk to the person, right? So what I do is, okay, so now I have a semi-warm prospect. And we all know that in funneling, right, your marketing, your funnel looks like this, right? So you have your top prospects. We have a lot of them. And as we start to go down the line, well, what people don't know is that the least amount of marketing dollars should be spent here and the most amount of marketing dollars should be spent here down the funnel. So like, Brittany, this is like, you know, you move someone down your funnel and that now maybe you send them like a direct mail piece or something, right? Or you send them a box with some swag in it or something, right? So that's that concept is as you come down the funnel, you're actually supposed to spend more as you go down the funnel. So I have a very, very cheap spend idea that works really, really well with this. So I send them, I get them to agree. Yes, they'll send it to the doctor. Yes, they'll respond to my email. So I know they got it, right? So we have all these yeses. I'm a big yes ladder person. So walk them up the yes ladder. Yes, 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 yes. The first thing I do as soon as I hang up is I go into my online Starbucks gift card account and I send that person a $5 thank you. And the message simply says, Brittany, it was great chatting with you. I really appreciate you taking the time to get this into the doctor's hands. I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee on me. That's it.
Easy.
Right?
Yeah.
Easy. Let that sit. What's cool about the Starbucks, what I love about the Starbucks is when you use their online thing, you can see card delivered, card opened, right? So like you can actually see
Oh, okay.
open the card and all that kind of stuff, right?
Cool.
So I love doing that. You know, you almost always get, hey, that was unnecessary, but thank you. And it's like, hey, it's unnecessary for you to have taken my call. So I appreciate you, right? You're showing that you appreciate the person's time, you're valuing the person. And think about it. If their whole life, salespeople have been taught to get past the gatekeeper, but I'm the one who's valuing the gatekeeper's time and making them feel important and things like that, who's getting further along in the sale.
That makes sense. It makes complete sense. And the statement you made, I appreciate you, that goes a long way. Like we say that a lot around here too. And it's genuine, you know, it's like you really do thank them for their time.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it's not salesy at that point.
Yep.
It's the people who are only interested in taking your money who are the
Yep.
ones who usually get ignored.
Well, and those are the ones that are like, they're just not going to let you off the phone, and they're just this and they're that, right? And it's like,
Right.
and that's what I tell people too, like in the beginning of the sales process, I'm going to go back to the example of if Brittany and I first met, and like she shook my hand and then I just started talking for 3 minutes and didn't even let her breathe. Um, Typically what would happen there is when I go to follow up, Brittany's like, oh, that's that dude that doesn't stop talking. Like, there's no way I'm answering
Yeah.
that
Avoiding
call,
it all
right?
costs.
So you're going to avoid me at all costs. It's like, okay, like
Yeah.
we'll put him over there. So again, key points, key wrap up points, humanize it. Remember that gatekeeper is most likely extremely influential. We're not reaching out to Fortune 500 companies. We're not, you know what I mean? Like you
Right.
have to remember, these are
Right.
small businesses. You're not going to C-level. You're not selling to C-level. What that means, the old gatekeeper stuff is really how it relates to big corporate sale, right?
Mhm.
So the gatekeeper is usually like the director of something, right? And we know that the C-level person, so we got to get past the director to get to the C-level, but this is a totally different space, right? We're talking about a gatekeeper who, like, listen, in law firms, it's funny because, it's almost always someone that's like 50 to 60 years old. They've been there forever. The lawyers like go to them for advice on basically everything, right? They run the lives. They're best friends with the spouses of the attorney, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just in there, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you think that person's not going to help influence your sale if you connect with that person?
Yeah. Even specifically about the niche too. Sometimes you're dealing with like the wife or like the
Yeah,
daughter, right? These are family owned businesses too.
family-owned
So
businesses. Yep,
yeah.
yep. A family member that you're shoving off because you want to get to the owner, right? Like
Yeah.
that's smart.
Yeah.
All right. So, and don't forget about the Starbucks surprise. That's not
That's a
patented,
great idea.
so feel free to use that. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like it works and it's genuine and it's $5 and you don't have to mail anything. It takes a couple clicks. All I do is put their email address in, put their name in, hit go. I get the emails and then I get email notified when they open it up.
That's cool. What do you do when you've seen that they opened it or used it? Or like, do you then follow up at any point in time or is that this next step?
No. So typically you're going to get the response right after they open it. Usually I'll get a thank you response within the 10 minutes. If not, listen, I'm genuinely appreciative. I'm genuinely buying them a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
If they don't want to say thank you, they don't have to say thank you, right? I'm still just going to follow the sales process. So when I follow up, I won't mention the cup of coffee at all. I'll just say, hey, by the way, here's the report that I promised. If you have any questions, let me know, blah, 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 blah. And then you'll go, right? And listen, if someone at that point just no thank you for the coffee, they opened it, this, that, and the other thing, then I don't know, maybe they're just not that.
Yeah, it might get a little bit creepy if you're like, hey, I saw you got your coffee. How was it?
Yeah. So did you buy a coffee? What kind of coffee did you get? Grande or tall, so.
That's funny.
But again, don't make sales creepy.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. These are really good tips, especially because I've encountered a lot of creepy people in the sales process for sure. So
once or twice. All right. So the next thing I'd like to move on to is pricing strategies to help you close.
Cool.
So now we've brought that customer through the journey. Okay, we have them. We're at the point where it's like, hey, we want to present price. We want to do this. Now, this is kind of a little bit all over the board because everybody has a different strategy. Some people have just one program and plan that they lead with. Some people like to present multiple plans and stuff like that. So the content and the advice that I created for this section kind of covers all gamuts, right? So whether you're a one price person, whether you're a three price person, little bullet points in here are going to help you with each one of those. So the first most important thing about pricing strategy is you need to frame the pricing before you deliver the price. And what I mean by frame the pricing is, in a lot of cases, Brittany, they have not bought SEO before. They don't know what's expensive. They don't know what's not expensive. They don't know this, that, or the other thing, right? And you don't want to be like, well, most people would sell this for $10,000, but I'm doing it for $2,000, right? Because then they're like, well, why would you do that, right? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So one of the best things, and I'm going to give a shout out to my boy, Josh Konigsberg, who is a good friend of mine.
Good sales guy.
but he's a decent sales guy, we'll say, right? He's a decent sales guy. But I'll give a shout out to him. So he taught me this trick that's worked very, very well. So know your niche, right? So I always tell people that number one, actually know your niche. Make sure that you understand all the content. Make sure that you understand everything that's in there, right? Because like if you're going in and like you're telling people like, hey, I'm going to get you new leads, but you don't know that like a good lead for a criminal defense attorney is a first time DUI case. Why do I know that? Because I've worked with criminal defense attorneys my whole life. And I know that the most that the attorney's going to do is give it to their paralegal, and the paralegal is going to call and they're going to put them into an ADR process, and they're going to show up to court. The attorney's going to show up in court. They're going to say, Judge, we requested ADR. The judge is going to approve it. In most cases, first time DUI, they're going to get paid $3,000. Done. Right? So it's a moneymaker. It's easy. But I know that about the niche. So when I start talking to somebody, I'm like, hey, listen, I assume that like first time DUIs is like our sweet spot, right? We want to hit those first, right? Well, yeah, you know about first time DUI? Oh yeah, I know about the ADR process. I know this, right? I'm not a lawyer, but at least they know I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So the tip that Josh Konigsberg gave me was he basically said, know your niche and know what the average marketing spend should be for someone in your niche, right? So let's say orthodontist, right? So let's say that the average marketing spend, and I'm just going to use rough numbers because I'm bad at math, so I don't want to get myself into trouble with math here. So let's say the average marketing spend for and I always like to say, and this is a little trick, I always like to say for a growing such and such practice, right? So because sometimes people will be like, well, yeah, but we're here and blah, 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 blah. But everyone wants to grow. Everyone has that. And it's like, so I'll throw it in there. I'll say, now, law firms that are focused on growth typically spend between 8 to 12% of their revenue on marketing.
Got it. So it's placing the intent. Like this is where you want to go.
If you want to be a law firm who's focused on growth, you should be spending 8 to 12% of revenue. Let's call it 10% because I'm bad at math, right? So 10%, right? So this is how I would deliver my first price because I'm a one price guy, right? So this is how I would deliver my first price. So in that case, let's say my service is going to be $2,500 a month. Actually, $2,000 a month because again, bad math. So $2,000 a month is what I'm going to deliver for this person. But we agree, Brittany, that you should be spending somewhere around 10% of marketing. So Brittany, before I jump into what the SEO and everything's going to cost, what else are you doing from a marketing perspective? Oh, well, like we have this one lawyer directory. I think that's like $300 a month or something. Okay, so would you say that you really like 1% of revenue or like a tenth of percent of revenue? Like what? Like yeah, like negligible. Okay, perfect, right? So they just told me they don't spend anything on marketing. So now, by the way, you mentioned you're at like 1 million in annual revenue. Is that where you came in last year? Yeah, I'm at 1 million. Okay, perfect. So firms focused on growth at 1 million in revenue, if we're at the 8 to 12, let's put it at 10, would be spending on average about $120,000 a year on their marketing. Pause.
Yeah. I was going to say, do mouths drop at that point?
Pause.
And they're like,
100% mouths drop. Okay. But Brittany, great news. My program's only $24K for the year because it's $2K a month.
Okay.
Right? So why did I do that? I brought up this high price. I introduced this high price before, because if I just said 2,000 or 24K, their first reaction to 24K was going to be, that's a lot of money.
Right.
They've never spent money on SEO. Their first reaction is, that's a lot of money. So what I want to do is I want to frame that better. And I want to have them think, Jesus, he just said 120,000. I mean, what is he going to say? 60,000 is a great deal. No. I got great news. And the great news is you're going to be able to get all this in place for like a fifth of that cost, 24K. You know what I mean? So now they're like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, that's a lot better than 120K. It's still a bigger number, right? So you still got to massage it a little bit. But that's what I mean by framing. So anytime you hear me say framing or whatever, the best example of this is the bottle of wine strategy. Do you know what the bottle of wine strategy is, Brittany?
I don't.
Okay. So in a restaurant, think of any decent restaurant that you will go to, right? And I'm not talking about a whiny restaurant that has like 4,000 bottles on it. An average restaurant that's going to have maybe 10 to 12 bottles of wine, different flavors and stuff like that. I want everyone to pay attention because this is true. This is actually happened. So what they do is they'll put 3. So let's say we have a bottle of Malbec. Okay, I'm a Malbec drinker, so I'm going to use Malbec. We'll put 3 bottles of Malbec on the menu. The first bottle is going to be $180. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Let's put, 3 or 4 bottles. The first bottle is going to be $180. The bottom of the barrel bottle is going to be $32. Then you're going to have about 3 or 4 bottles that are going to range from $50 to $70. Okay. Where do you think the restaurant wants you to buy?
Well, they probably want you to buy right in the middle, I would guess. Yeah.
That's where the highest margin is. So
Got it.
that high bottle of wine, that $180, they might buy that for $160. There's not much margin in that bottle of wine, but they're framing, right?
Yeah.
So now the $60 to $70 bottle of wine that contains the most margin is now looking pretty good, because you don't want to be the cheapo, right? Like, come on, we're on a date. I don't want to buy the lowest one, right? So it's literally a psychology trick that restaurants use.
Yeah.
And the lowest margin is actually at the lowest bottle of wine. The second lowest margin is at the highest bottle of wine, and the highest margins are in the middle ones. And psychology, almost 80% of the time, you're going to buy the middle wine. Unless I'm trying to impress you, maybe I pop for the 100. Right? But just, so that's what I mean. Again, taking that back to framing, that's what I mean by framing, right?
Okay.
So, in the restaurant, you're being framed as you're reading the menu, and you're like, oh, geez, 180. Hope they don't want that one.
Yeah.
62 looks good. Okay, 62 is good, right? Now, going into it, I didn't want to spend $62 on a bottle of wine, but that's the position I was put in, right? So it works. It definitely
got
works.
it. Do you ever do the same concept with helping them understand how many leads need to be generated? So I get this a lot in our conversations with agency owners. In a similar concept, do you ever help them understand how many leads they need to pay for a marketing campaign to see an ROI? Is that ever in this portion of a sales?
Yeah, I usually address that, but I usually address it a little bit, because I always like to talk about, what does success look like, right? So when we get into, like, usually, like, I'll get past the initial price, and then I'll get to what does success look like, because then we start talking about, okay, well, if we were to increase call volume by X%, your average sale is going to be this. This is how much we're going to add, right? And then this is where we would be, right? Now, I caution that you have to make sure that you have your right strategy in place. And we're going to talk about that in just a second with setting proper expectations, because in some cases, when you do that, like, all they hear is like 15 leads like the first month and stuff like that. So
yeah, they get stuck on it.
We'll talk about that when it's like about the leads today and leads tomorrow with paid search versus SEO. So we'll get into that in just a second. But yes, I do like to do that. I just caution people to make sure, if you're selling SEO only, I actually don't like that. Only because it frames it a little bit higher, like their expectations are set a little higher. Oh, I'm going to add this many people and things like that. Yeah. But you know that the leads aren't going to just pop right in the beginning. Now, if you have a paid search campaign, Google Ads, married to an SEO campaign, then all day, right? It's like, so what I would show somebody is that our spend is going to be higher in the beginning, because we're going to have this additional ad spend. But over time, the ad spend is going to go down. Our leads are going to increase because SEO is going to catch up, right? And then you just show them that value over time.
Cool.
Yeah, I usually do that a little bit later in the conversation.
Awesome.
Okay, so we talked about the bottle of wine. Now we're going to talk about the prospect who, this is the number one thing I deal with in my coaching, is, okay, you talk to somebody, they seemed really interested, you frame the price properly, they agreed it sounds like a good price, you're all the way down to, hey, send me the proposal, you've sent them the proposal, you've done the good job of what I always tell people, always, always, always control the next process of the sale, okay? So the kiss of death in sales is, well, send me the proposal and I will get back to you, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's okay. You don't want to, like, okay, so people will try to avoid that. Well, no, it'd be better if I just did it. And they're like, no, send me the proposal. I want to digest it. I want to see it. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? Send the proposal and do that. Where it goes wrong is, and then I'll get back to you. So what I say to that person is, okay, fair enough. Absolutely. I'll definitely send the proposal to you. Now, quick question, Brittany. I know you said that you'll review it and get back to me. What do you think? Like a couple days? Like, what, I don't know your schedule. Oh, yeah. A couple days. I'll get back to you. No problem. Okay, perfect. So Brittany, if I don't hear from you by Friday, would it be okay if I followed up?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Listen, I own that sale, right?
Yeah, I like that.
You gave me permission to follow up with you on Friday. because you're not going to follow up with me. 70, 80% of the time, you're not going to follow up with
Yeah.
me. I'm going to have to chase you down, but I'm going to make it weird by chasing you down. But it's not weird if we just told each other that we're going to talk on Friday if I don't hear from you, right?
Right.
Now I'm
Right.
not being weird. So control the process, control the next step in the sale always. And then the takeaway, the fear of missing out, which I don't know if everybody knows this, but the gain part of like selling someone to someone, like what they're going to gain, is actually the second top motivator for making a decision. The number one motivator for making a decision is fear. Okay. And there's a fear of missing out. Right. So when you talk to somebody and you're explaining everything and they could get these results and they could do this and they could do that, you know, when they're starting to slip away, you have to start to introduce the concept of, well, what happens if they don't do this, right? What happens if they don't? So I've always done the one in your area strategy. I'm a big believer in that. I will only work with one veterinarian in one space. I'll only work with one lawyer in one market, those type of things, right? And I'm true to that. So what I do is to get somebody to put a little pressure without putting pressure. We're friends now. We've done the whole sales process, Brittany. We're cool. So when I follow up with you on Friday and you kick the inevitable can of, oh, I still have to talk to my partner and blah, 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 blah. Cool, I get you. Brittany, can I ask you a question real quick? Yep. Okay. So the way that I work, I only will work with one veterinary clinic in Melbourne. Okay. I honestly think you're like the perfect target. Like I think, like, I've seen the reports. I know what we can do for you. I think you feel the same way and things like that. Yeah. No, definitely. Right. So yes, louder them a little bit. Then what I say is, okay, so let me ask you a question. I know you need a little bit of time to talk to your partner, this, and the other thing. But right now, my team has stopped marketing for this spot in Melbourne to all the other practices. We're not trying to set meetings with them. Okay. If you decide that this isn't just the right time for you or something like that, would you let me know by next Friday that this just isn't the right thing for you? Because the reality is, Brittany, is that I'd love to work with you. I think it's perfect and stuff like that, but I'm a small business owner just like yourself. And if it's not the right time for you, I do need to move on, right? Now, I'm not sitting there selling them BS that I have a candidate. And I would tell people that I'm like, I don't have any candidates right now. You might come back to me in 2 weeks and say, Sean, I'm good to go. And I can most likely take you on, right? I don't know how quickly my marketing team is going to work, but I give that there's a potential that you're going to lose this. And I also ask them for the human element of, do me a favor and just be honest with me. Like if the timing's not right, that's cool, but allow me to continue to do my business.
That's so good. That's such a great way to start your relationship too, if they do sign, because you were honest from the start, right? Like that's such a
You're asking for their honesty. Hey, it's no problem. Hey, by the way, if I do end up working with somebody else and we end up not, if it doesn't work out, I'll reach back out to you in 6 months to a year, right? Like you just keep it, but just be true to it and just be true. Make it human. Make the ask them to help you, right? Like, hey, just help me out, right? Like I'm just a small business owner. I don't care if you're doing 10 million, 20 million a year. You're a small business owner who needs to get this spot filled, right? So they don't need to know how successful or not successful you are.
That's awesome.
So that's my key takeaway on like when you're trying to get that to close, they're kicking the can. Hit them with that frame. Give them the time frame. Don't be like, I need to know by tomorrow, 24 hours, or I'm giving it to somebody else. Like that's cheesy. They're gonna be like, all right. If you did that to me, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like go for it. Like,
I think that's like the learning curve, right? When you're new to this, it's like how much pressure do you apply and how you execute that pressure. That's where I usually see like everybody do it a little bit different. But the way you just delivered that, it felt genuine. You know, it felt like, cool, we already know each other. You let me know the value you can add to our business. I figured out where I'm going wrong with how much I'm actually investing into marketing. And now you're like, let's just carry this on and have a genuine conversation if this is going to work.
Yeah, it makes sense or it doesn't, right? And you're in a position to absorb that spend or you're not. Maybe it's a cash thing. You might just not have cash right now. I get it. Like I've been in all kinds of businesses. I've had cash crunches. I've been waiting on a payday loan to make my payroll at times, right? So been seeing all of that. So, and I think again, like that's where you have to, we're going to get into this. So we're going to jump into manage expectations. But one of the things I want to tell everybody is make sure you elevate yourself when you are having these conversations and when you have sales. People hear me reference my grandfather. My grandfather passed like 15 years ago, best friend in the world. And he's like this old salty Marine guy that like half the shit that came out of his mouth I cannot say publicly on a webinar. But the things that I can share Or, one of the best advice that he ever gave me was I called him one morning because it was early in my career. I told you I was like running up through the ranks. I was 27 years old. My boss bought me a suit because I didn't have a suit, but I was supposed to go present in front of like all these lawyers in Boston, flying for the first time. Like I am overwhelmed. I'm like my 9-year-old kid getting ready for his business meeting. And so I'm completely overwhelmed. And I'm like, so I called my pop up in the morning. I'm like, Pop, I'm freaking out. Da 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 da. And he just gives that like calm breath and he goes, son, the only thing I can tell you is that regardless of who's in that room, they all pulled their pants up the same way you did this morning.
Oh.
I'm like, Pop, that's not helping me right now, right? And it took me years to kind of think about it. And he's like, listen, don't let someone, oh, they're a lawyer, they're a doctor, they're a this, or you're a business owner. You're a marketing, like half the people that I work with, my business is bigger than theirs. You know what I mean? So it's like, so for me, and it's not a cockiness thing, it's a remember your value, right? Remember that you're bringing value to the table. You're a business owner. They should respect your time just like you should respect their time, right? And all that kind of stuff. So elevate yourself as the sale goes down the track, right? Because what I like to do, and we're going to jump right into setting proper expectations, is, and because we're talking about elevate, I'm going to skip to my bottom point on my slide, and we'll work back on this one. But when you say things like, we feel like we're a great fit for you, but just as importantly, I think you're a great fit for us, right? We're very selective about who we work with because we don't like to be viewed as a vendor. We like to be viewed as a partner, right? Mm-hmm. I want to become part of your marketing department. I want to be an extension of your, and if you don't have a marketing department, I want to be your marketing department, right? So you kind of like really frame that where it's like, if you start the writing bad emails to my team and things like that, like, listen, I'm going to fire you. Like, I will fire the client. I will not take it, right? And I have. Like, if there's lawyers watching this, they know they got fired. So I will fire a client for disrespecting the team and stuff like that because you don't need that, right? And just some people act that way. So that's what I mean by elevate. Like, make sure that when you're preparing yourself, if you have to mirror work, look yourself in the mirror and be like, listen, you are a digital marketing agency owner. You are doing $50,000 a month in recurring revenue. You are crushing it, and you deserve this client's business, right? Yeah. Tell yourself that. Frame yourself. Get in there. Get yourself in the right mindset. So real quick, let me jump into setting proper expectations. So Brittany, I use you all the time, by the way, in my sales process. And I think I asked you for permission at one point. But when I first got into SEO, and I didn't know, I'm like, what's SEO stand for? So like I have all these experts like Brittany, Michael, all these people around me and giving me all this advice. And Brittany told me that you should look at paid search and SEO as real estate on the internet. Mm-hmm. And paid search is like leasing a home on the internet, and SEO is like buying a home on the internet. Right. Because it's a consistent investment that's going to grow and it's going to grow value over time versus your leased home. You're going to have it for that month, but after that month, that's gone, right? That marketing spend's gone and things like that. Brittany, you told me that I think 4 years ago. I use it almost in every sales conversation. I think I owe you a royalty on that one. But it makes sense, right? So that's what I say about remind them about leads today and leads tomorrow. Like if they're like, hey, listen, like I just want to focus on SEO. I just want this, I want that. That's great, but let's talk about what that means, okay? The first 3 months is a lot of foundational work, right? We have a lot of catching up to do. We got to get all the system, we got to get the tags in place. We got to get everything right? Then month 2 and beyond that, we're going to start to put the content in. We need Google to index that content. Then we're going to start to see rankings. Then so I'm telling them like, listen, in the beginning, like don't call me in 2 or 3 months. Like, how come my phone's not blowing up? It's not going to blow up. Right. But if you want your phone to blow up in the first 2 or 3 months, I can have it blow up by next week if you have a Google Ads budget, right? So leads today, leads tomorrow, frame it properly, frame their expectation. The other thing, and I'm going to do this because this is a 51 Blocks masterclass. The other thing that is one of my secrets to SEO and is awesome because of the transparency that 51 Blocks gives is I tell them exactly what I'm going to do for them. So when I take the 51 Blocks guide of SEO for the top level SEO plan and first 90 days and I tell them that. Now, the thing that I tell them is I say, listen, this is a example, okay? Yeah. We reserve the right to change this based on the needs of the market. So
Yep.
right now this says 3 pieces of content. If we find that the Google runs an algorithm update and longer form content, which happened, right, Brittany? Like
Yep.
we used to have that in the smaller package. It used to be 3, now it's 1. The
Yep.
1's outperforming the 3, right? So
Right.
I tell that to customers. So I'm like, don't like call me up and be like, hey, month 2 said, 4 posts and I saw 3 and da, da, da. Like we have the ability, but this will give you a general idea of all the stuff that's going to happen. And oh, by the way, you can also log into a live report monthly and see all the tasks that are happening, when they happen, where they are in progress, and stuff like that. Because
Yep.
what I tell people is that there's no such thing as secret sauce in SEO. And if your provider is telling you that there's secret sauce and this, that, and the other thing, they're lying to you. There
Well,
is,
yeah, and if your provider isn't showing you what they're doing, what are
correct.
they doing,
What are
right?
they doing?
Like, I've seen so many people come along with that got hit by a lot of the newest algorithm updates. Their clients, like, traffic and rankings just completely fell off.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, this is what happens, right? When we're not honest as marketing companies. So yeah, transparency is huge. It goes a
Well,
long way in building trust.
and with the algorithm updates is like we'll get affected by those too, but because of the solid strategy that I believe in, the 51 block strategy and everything, like I've never seen those like tank of rankings, right?
Right.
Like you'll
Yeah,
see
you
like
just do what Google
fluctuations and
wants.
stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
Google, but it's these quick pop rankings. It's these white label SEO companies that find these little hacks that they put in place, and all of a sudden, you get ranked and you're showing all over the map, and it works for like 2 months, and then Google figures out, oh wait, people are doing this, forget that, and then boom, you're out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't like that stuff because again, it's my reputation, right? So
Well, and you did such you did such a good job building that trust in the sales process.
yep.
That's why it's so important to carry it over through the month to month, because it's got to continue that way. So yeah, that's great. I'm glad that good to hear you set expectations the same way that we do, of course, with our products. But that's why it's so important. We've learned lessons in that space too, and being transparent will help you keep those clients at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think it's like that's what my commitment is. And I'm like, listen, like some things are going to work really well, other things aren't. We have to test some things with ads. In the beginning, the cost per click is going to be a little higher until we can dial that in. And but this is why you're hiring me, because I have the expertise to actually do that. If you go
Right.
do the Google ads on yourself, you're going to start, and then Google's going to do this amazing thing for you where they're going to give you an ad suggestion, and you're going to say yes to all of them. It's going to like broad search all your campaigns. You're going to spend a ton. Your leads are
Yeah.
going to be crappy, but all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, my Google ads are working so well. Like I got all these phone calls, but then you realize like the phone calls suck, and it's, you know what I mean? So it's like I always tell people, it's like, just, trust the experts, right?
Right.
Trust the, I work in the veterinarian space. Technically, if I go on YouTube right now, I can find from start to finish how to spay or neuter a dog. Does anybody on this call think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't make you an expert, but yeah,
I can
exactly.
find the top 5 things to do this month on SEO, but it doesn't make us an expert, right?
Right.
So frame that with them, tell them you can do that little joke with them. But that's it for setting proper expectations. So
That's great.
so I think we're pretty much aligned on that. And Brittany, I know we're coming up at 2:57. We're coming up on the hour. I did have a little bit of bonus
Keep
content.
going. Yeah. Yeah, for
Throw the
sure.
bonus
No worries.
content in there. All right,
For
let's.
sure.
Um, so in my coaching, I always like to share with everybody that I've developed this system, and I call it the 5 daily disciplines. Okay, and the 5 daily disciplines for me apply Monday through Friday. Okay, weekends are my kid time, boating time, that kind of stuff, right? Not if I need to get something done on a weekend. I'm not saying I won't, but chances are I'm probably not. So I do it Monday through Friday, and it kind of like encompasses everything, right? So I'm a huge mindset person. I think everything is mindset.
Yep.
I have this, I won't take my shirt off now, but I have a tattoo on my back that says discipline over motivation. Discipline beats motivation. We all get motivated. We get excited about things. We can run fast. You go to an intensive, you come out of the intensive, you're like, I'm going to implement all this stuff. Just like you get gung ho about, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to do the 5:30 boot camp every morning and I'm going to eat quinoa and asparagus. And then you're like, wait a second, like how sustainable is this? How long is, right? So like my whole thing is like, don't do that. Look at your current diet, eliminate 3 things that are crappy, do that for 2 weeks, sustain that, lose 4 pounds, and then add on to that, right? Don't go from couch potato to gym rat because it won't be sustainable. Build from couch potato to gym
Right.
rat, and that's what discipline is. That's the
Got it.
difference between discipline and motivation. So I'm a big mindset person. Everything's mind, body connection, everything. So the first, so 5 daily disciplines, we'll run through them real quick. First one is attitude of gratitude. So the first thing I do in the morning before I grab for this little magical device that, how many people just kind of like have their eyes like crusted?
Yeah, it's your alarm usually. You're
Right?
like, I got to turn it
Your
off and
alarm,
then get into
you're just reaching on your nightstand and you're like, let me get this like blue light that's terrible for us.
it.
You know, in my face is the first thing that I see. Did that for a long time until I realized that that was terrible for my mind frame, because the first thing I'm seeing is like people arguing with each other on Facebook and negativity and crap, right?
Right.
So the first thing that I do is attitude of gratitude. I don't tell people. My big belief is that everybody's beliefs are correct, right? So I have people that I coach that are very religious that are like, hey man, like, can I do this in prayer? Yeah, you can do it in prayer, right? Because me sitting there setting intentions to the universe is the same thing as you praying to Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever it is, right? To me, it's all the same thing. It's about expressing the gratitude, right? And listen, anybody that's listening to this call, that's a digital marketing agency owner, that's, you know, I don't care if it's like, hey, I feel I'm struggling right now and stuff. Like, there's a million things to be grateful for. The best thing I've ever heard was someone told me one time, they said, Brittany, if I offered you $5 million right now, I'm going to transfer it directly into your account. Would that change your life?
No.
It wouldn't? $5 million? Damn, Brittany, I need to get on your level.
I'm high standard, Sean.
Okay, the average answer would be yes, right? Like someone just handing you $5 million, like I could pay off my car, pay off my house, whatever, right? So then you flip it and you say, well, what if I was to give you $10 million? Would that change your life, right? For Brittany, it might need to be $100 million, but whatever the number is, you get the person to say like, yes, of course that would, right?
Yeah.
But I say, if the caveat is you can accept that money today, you can go on a spin, you can spend whatever you want, but there's a guarantee you're not going to wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you take the money.
Wow.
Will you take the money?
No.
Definitely not. And the
I'd
answer
rather wake
universally, if I talk to a CEO and I ask them that question, or if I talk to somebody that just got their first job in Starbucks and I ask them that question, it's a universal no. And why? Because you value your life more than you value $10 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the first thing to remember is like, oh my God, I have all this crap going on in my life. My kids are this, is that, and the other thing. You woke up, right? So that's the first thing to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So you can always find something to be grateful for. Attitude of gratitude, make it prayer, make it gratitude. Spend 5 minutes, sit with a coffee, right? Just clear your brain and just enjoy
I
it.
love that. I do the same thing, Sean, and I have to say, especially when you're in an agency and you get cancellations, because those will ruin your day. It's amazing to start your day being like, I'm so thankful for the clients I have, for the people that are here, for the team I have. Like, those are the things that really make it worth it for sure.
Because then when real life hits us all day, right, and throws punches at us, and you get that cancellation 2 minutes after, like, because then you pick up your phone and you're like, oh my God, I got a cancellation last night, right? And you're like,
yeah.
But at the same time, you're totally different mindset, right?
Better
so that's
mindset.
number one, the most important thing. Number two is I'm a big believer in work smarter, not harder. Okay. So I give all my coaching clients, I need 2 hours on their daily schedule, Monday through Friday. The 1 hour is for deep work. When you do deep work, you need to eliminate all distraction. Deep work is not, I'm going to work on this funnel while I check my email every 6 minutes, while I take a phone call, while I do this, while I do that. Deep work is getting yourself into a mindset. I like to do push-ups. I jump on the floor, do a bunch of push-ups, put myself, and then I turn off everything, Brittany. Like you cannot get me. And what I tell people is like, Brittany, like, are you delivering anyone's baby today? Do you have to perform brain surgery today? Or are you in the SEO space?
Right.
Everyone can afford an hour of quiet time to themselves. Nobody's client is going to die because 1 hour went by and you didn't respond about the change of their blog, right? So keep yourself in that mindset. You can do it. It's very effective. And I challenge that the people that do 5 hours of deep work a week are more effective than the average 40-hour in-office working person, just because of how much you can really accomplish when you focus your mind and you get that one thing done.
Yeah. They're not in fight or flight, right? I see that with a lot of agency owners. They just live in fight or flight.
You're putting fires out. You're just putting fires. And when you get to work on your business, right? So that's your deep work time. Your deep work time is for you, whether you want to work on a funnel, whether you want to work on messaging, whether you want to work on whatever it is, right? Work on something. You create content. You want to create content, great, but do something that's on the business for 1 hour. Turn off Facebook, turn off the cell phone, close your email, right? Like literally don't allow yourself the ability to be, because if your email's open and you see an email pop, you're going to go check it,
Oh
right?
yeah. Got to keep it clean in there. Yeah. No, it
If your
totally makes sense.
Facebook's on here and I'm getting all these messages as we're on this thing, right? I got Instagram messages. It's
Yeah.
just, I want to check it, right? So we gotta force ourselves to do the deep work. The third thing, and this is the second hour that I ask everybody for, is 1 hour of revenue generating activity. 1 hour of revenue generating activity is not creating content, working on a funnel, sending out cold email blasts, et cetera, et cetera. 1 hour of revenue generating activity is, excuse my French, getting off your ass and getting after some sales. Okay. So have a list of 25 prospects that you are actively targeting. Send them a message on LinkedIn, send them a message on Facebook, personalize it, not automate it. Make a phone call. Hey, I just sent you this, blah, 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 right? I want everyone to have that list of 25 prospects that they are constantly going after. And you are going to push just as hard for a no as you are for a yes, right? Because as a salesperson, you only have the commodity of time. That's the only thing that you have, right? And when we're a digital marketing agency owner, we wear multiple hats. Sales is just one of the hats that we wear. So now I'm telling you, you only have an hour a day to focus on that sales, right? So you need to value that time and don't chase dud prospects, right? Hey, listen, if this isn't the right time for you, I've sent you a couple messages. If this is the right time, just let me know. Yes, please stop talking. Please stop. Perfect. Thank you. Take them off your list, put somebody else on. But if you do this and you get into the rhythm of these 2 1 hours, I swear to God, for the average agency owner, if you just did those 2 hours, you probably would move your business further along than everybody else who's working 40 to 50 hours a week. And that's 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 disciplines: attitude of gratitude, hour of deep work, and then we have our revenue generating activity for an hour. The last 2 things is mind body connection. Just let everybody know, 5 years ago, I was 320 pounds and morbidly obese. I was able to get with a personal trainer who's like, dude, you can't do this in 60, 90 days fix. You screwed up for 10 years. I need at least a couple years to get you back on track, right? So focused on body recomposition and everything. The reason that I share that with everybody, number one, is that's why I'm a discipline over motivation guy, right? Motivation made me fail in weight loss constantly until I switched to discipline. And then I was able to be successful. And I lost the weight like 4 years ago too. So it's been a sustainable thing at this point. But the key thing is how you feel, right? Mind body connection. And what people don't realize is that the average person, almost everybody on this call, unless you make it one of your core focuses, is dehydrated, right? We're supposed to drink 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. How many people actually drink like 8 ounces of water a day, right? Like to
It's
keep you
crazy. I had to buy one of those jugs, that
There's
like
a great, Brittany, the
they
ones
tell
that like,
me, and I was like,
hey, good job, keep
yeah,
going, wait, you
yeah,
got more, right? Like those things are awesome, right? But what I mean is like when you did that, you're making it a core focus. So your hydration level went up. Your brain is made of 74% water. I don't know if people know that, but your brain is made of 74% water. Is your brain functioning at the highest level it can if you're in a constant state of dehydration?
Oh no, you're so tired. Yeah, it's like the first sign of it. I'm like, oh, I
right?
drink more water.
Hydrate. That's the one thing. I'm not here. I'm no one's fitness coach. I'm not a personal trainer, right? But I'm telling you, it will change the mind-body connection. You will feel better. You'll have more energy. People are like, Sean, you're always full of energy. Like I drink like 120 ounces of water a day. So, and a little bit of coffee too. But anyway, so that's number 4. Make it a focus, right? And start out, like if you start out by saying, hey, I'm going to buy this water bottle and I'm just going to intentionally drink this 1 bottle of water a day, 40 ounces, great. That's more than you were before, right? So again, perfection is not the goal, it's progress.
Right.
So if you're making progress towards that, then when you really start to get excited about it, go Google, what's my daily water requirement for my body size and things like that. I'm 6'4", 220. Brittany, you and I need a different amount of water every day, right? So that's that. And then the last thing is 30 minutes of body movement. Okay. And again, I'm not here to be your exercise and fitness coach. If body movement for you is just taking a walk in the morning while you're doing your intentions, your attitude of gratitude, whatever, do a walk for 30 minutes. I love doing so I go to the gym a lot and things like that, but I still kind of apply this 30 minutes a day, like outside of my gym stuff. And what I'll do is during the day, I'm a big ADHD guy. So like, I can't sit in my chair all day. So I'll just get up and I'll just do some calisthenics. I'll do a wall sit for 5 minutes. I'll do like different things, right? Just to kind of engage your body. And again, it's just that that feeling. Like, if you do this consistently for 3 to 5 days, you're going to feel so much better. And it's like,
Yeah.
you just feel more energy. So again, the last 2 daily disciplines are, not related to sales or sales coaching, but they just help with the mind body connection.
Yeah.
So what I tell everybody with the 5 daily disciplines is, we have people in our society. I question how many of them are 100% true about what they say, but you have your people that will be like, okay, I wake up at 4:45 every day and I cold plunge. And then after my cold plunge, I, drink fire water. And then after fire water, I do that. Right. And you're just like, well, and you're like, wow, holy cow,
Yeah.
this person is the number one guru. Great. And if they're truly doing that, like, awesome for you. Like,
Yeah.
amazing. If I get to your level one day, that'd be awesome. Me, I'm somebody that believes everything's not perfect, right? You're not going to have that perfect thing. So what I tell my clients is, map out your thing, right? Make 5 blocks Monday through Friday and just put an X on the ones that you did, right?
Yeah.
Put some
Yeah.
X's on, right? And you're not going to hit all 5. And you might be one of those like former athletes or something that's like, dude, coach, you told me what to do. I have clients like that. You guys rock.
Yeah.
But they're like, dude, coach, you told me what to do. I did it. I did it perfect. That's awesome. But the whole thing is that the reason I tell people to do things like that and visualize is that we have to understand how dopamine affects the brain too. And when you are constantly setting goals for yourself that you're constantly missing, you are getting a negative hit, right?
Yeah.
It is a negative. Like, you get cortisol, right? You don't get dopamine, you get cortisol, you get stress, you get all these other things flood your system. When you do something as simple as, Brittany, take out the trash with a checkbox next to it, right? Something as simple as take out the trash with a checkbox next to it. I get up, I take out the trash, I come back to my desk and I check that.
Feels
I
good.
just got the dopamine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny that you laid it out like that. I did that at our agency for our KPIs. We have daily KPIs and it looks like a heat map, because I'm like, oh, interesting. We can see when we're like on track, off track really easily.
Yep.
And it's the same thing I've seen it done in like bullet journals for people with their fitness goals, where they go in and they do that. So that's a great tip for anybody.
Yep. So those
sure.
are, that's again, that was a little bonus content at the end.
It's good stuff. We're made up of energy. So I really, I appreciate that you added it to that, because I think we pass that off to the people we interact with. So it does tie into the fact that you're going to go into sales calls. You should feel your best. You should, look your best. And I think they can feel that. They pick that energy up from you for sure.
Definitely.
Very cool. Oh, Sean, it's been an amazing hour with you. So thank you so much for joining us and teaching everybody. We will go ahead and put the slide deck. I'll go ahead and kind of go back around and put that in the comments so anyone can grab that. Sean, anything they should know how they can get a hold of you for coaching, accountability coaching, anything like that?
Yeah. So first and foremost, connect with me on Facebook. I'm an open networker on Facebook and things like that. So connect with me on Facebook. And yeah, what I always tell people is that if I'm a big believer in it's all about the fit, right? So the first thing I do with anybody is, let's jump on a 15 to 20 minute phone call. I want to hear a little bit about yourself, about your business. And if it makes sense and we're in the right space and something like that, and it makes sense for us to talk further, then we talk further. But I don't know. I love coaching. So me sharing 20 minutes with somebody and they're like, well, dude, I don't want to waste your time. It's not a waste of time, right? Because if we can work it out and we have an agreement, but I love to share. So yeah, so connect with me on Facebook. Brittany, I'll give you the other contact information. I do have a page where if someone wants to go to, we'll share that